And welcome back to day 2 of Trig. Today we are going to be using Trig to find missing angles. So last time we used Trig to find missing sides. Today we're going to find missing angles, and we do that by using the inverse trig functions, which are buttons on our calculator. So for example, if we know the sine of our angle is equal to 2 over 3, we can find that angle by taking the inverse sine of that ratio, and our calculator will tell us what x is, and we're always going to be rounding to the nearest degree. So these buttons are on our calculator. So if you are working with an 84, these inverse buttons are above your sine, cosine, and tangent, and you activate those by hitting second and then the sine button for inverse sine or cosine tangent for inverse. If you're working with the Inspire, when you go to your Trig menu here, your inverse functions are below the original functions. So you can just arrow down and over to whichever one you need. So let's practice. Let's find the inverse sine of 15 over 19. And we're always rounding to the nearest whole degree, so that would be 52 degrees. Inverse cosine of 4 over 5, that would give us about 37 degrees. And inverse tangent of 15 over 7, that is going to give us about 65 degrees. So how do we know what to type into the calculator? Well, if we know that the sine of x is 1/2, then x is going to be the inverse sine of 1/2. And if I put that into my calculator, inverse sine of 1/2, that is 30 degrees. Okay. If the tangent of x is 4/3, that means that x is going to be the inverse tangent of 4/3. Excuse me for that bell. And so for number 12, x is about 53 degrees. And then on 13, if the cosine of x is 4 over 5, that means that x is the inverse cosine of 4/5. And so x is about 37 degrees. All right. Now, how do we solve this when we have a picture? So for 14, 15, and 16, the first thing we need to do is identify which trig function we're going to use. So remember our SOHCAHTOA. That is not going away anytime soon. So starting with 14, the sides that I'm given in reference to my angle x are the opposite and adjacent sides, which tells me that I'm probably going to want to use tangent. So the tangent of x is equal to 51 over 23. So to find x, what I'm going to take in my calculator is the inverse tangent of 51 over 23. And rounding to the nearest whole degree, that is going to give me about 66 degrees. Okay. On 15, here's my reference angle y, and I'm given the opposite and hypotenuse sides, which tells me I want to use sine. So the sine of y is equal to 43 over 48. So to find y, I'm going to take the inverse sine of 43 over 48. And we're going to find that y here, 43 over 48, is about 64 degrees. Okay. And then lastly, on number 16, with reference angle c, I have the adjacent and hypotenuse, which means I'm going to look for the cosine of c. So the cosine is 30 over 35. So to find c, we're going to take the inverse cosine of 30 over 35, and we are going to find that angle c is about 31 degrees. And that is it for finding our missing angles using trig.